Alright, how's it going everybody? The last tier list video I made, which was the solo flawless dungeon tier list, did pretty well, and you guys seemed to like it, so I thought I'd make another one. So today I'm going to be ranking every raid that you can currently play in Destiny 2. So the equivalent of S tier is Michael 1, and the lowest tier is Michael 5. But enough yapping, enough chatting, enough gossip, enough chit-chat. Let's get right into the video. We're starting from oldest to newest. So starting off, we have the oldest raid on this list, which is Last Wish. And we're starting out strong here, because Last Wish, it's the first Michael 1. It is in Michael 1, I tell you. Last Wish is fantastic. It is the best raid in the entire game and the entire franchise, in my opinion. And it's just fantastic. Kelly, although being plate mechanics, it's not terrible. I enjoy it. Shuro-Chi is a good encounter and the right way to do damage gating. I think it's fun, it's fast-paced, and yeah, I think that it's a good encounter. Morgoth is a little bit worse, but it is still, you know, it's not terrible. Although Morgoth has like 2 HP. Vault is the best non-boss encounter in the entire game. It's great, in my opinion. I love it. And the music, by the way, in this raid is just... Legit Riven, and we're not counting the cheese. I think that they should patch the cheese. Legit Riven is the best encounter in the entire game, period, and I will stand by that. And then, to finish it off, we have the only raid to have an encounter after the final boss. And it's a good encounter, it's fun. It has to be in Michael 1. It cannot be anywhere else. So our first Michael 1 of the tier list goes to Last Wish. Moving on, we have the one, the only, Garden of Salvation. Now if King's Fall was on this list, Garden of Salvation would be higher. Because I think people base Garden of Salvation off of their LFG experiences, and for some reason LFGs just have like this weird curse of being extraordinarily terrible at Garden of Salvation. I don't know how, but when you do it with non-LFGs, it's fun. It's fun. It's not, you know, it's not the premier raid experience. I'll give it a solid Michael 3. If I have some buddy old pals say, hey Foamy, you want to do a Garden of Salvation? I'll first look and see who's on the team. And then, you know, I'll probably play. I'll probably do it. But if it's with LFGs, count me out of that shit. Also, if you have the chance, do this raid 3-man. Very good, very fun. Probably, you know, it changes the whole raid. Moving on, we have my personal favorite raid. Or at least the one that I have the most fun playing. My favorite one to play. It's cold, which is very fitting for a Canadian like myself. It's the one, the only. I don't live in Quebec. Deep Stone Crypt. Are there flaws with this raid? Of course. Is it easy? Yes, it is easy. Very easy, as a matter of fact. Does that mean it's bad? No, that doesn't mean it's bad. I think it's a very creative raid. I think it's fun. I like that it requires, you know, more than one person, unlike another one of the easy raids. It just has fun mechanics that aren't really tedious, and I think that, you know, if the bosses had more health, if Tanax wasn't the final boss, but, you know, it is what it is. I think it's Michael 2, if I'm being honest with you. Call me Dr. Seuss, the way I be rhyming on these hoes. That didn't rhyme whatsoever. Moving on, we have the one and only. The very first raid in Destiny, but it came back to Destiny 2. I think it's about the same as Garden of Salvation. These aren't in any order, by the way, in the tiers. You know, I don't know. Just imagine that Garden of Salvation and Vault of Glass are like on the same tier. Hey party people, it's me, Editor Foamy. I'm here with a correction. It's the first of 2 corrections. You'll see me later in the video. After further review, I think that Garden of Salvation is better than Vault of Glass. Yeah, I gatekeepers, after further review, I said it's cool, I think, in this video, but it's not. It's actually, it's pretty boring. So just use your imagination that Garden of Salvation is over Vault of Glass. Okay, toodles. Vault of Glass is very, very easy. Very, very easy. It gets kind of boring. It has a lot of encounters. It has some pretty good loot. The bosses don't really have a lot of health. But, you know, I think it has a lot of encounters. Did I already say that? I may have already said that. Confluxes are boring. Oracles are boring. The Templar is, you know, it's whatever. It's a pretty quick boss encounter. And Atheon is cool. It's a fast raid. It's a very fast raid. So I believe that Michael 3 is the place to put Vault of Glass. Let's move on. Next up, we have Vow of the Disciple. If you think I'm gonna put this in Michael 1 just because the boss is hot, Yeah. You would be right. Now, Vow the Disciple is a very good raid. It does have downsides, such as I believe that first encounter is, it is what it is, but it's not like spectacular. But it's not like second encounter of Garden, first encounter of Vault of Glass levels of boring. At least you have to run around the room and go into the different things, and you have to. It's cool. It's cool. It's not standout, but it is very cool. It's kind of like a longer version of Vault from Last Wish, if you think about it. Caretaker is cool. I think it's a interesting boss fight. Third encounter is another one that is a casualty of LFG. I think that this encounter probably sucks with LFGs, and, I don't blame you if you don't like it because of that. But, God, with, like, non-LFGs, third encounter fucking rocks. I love third encounter without LFGs. It's fun. It's fast-paced. The music, oh my god, it's great. It's great. Then final encounter with the man, the myth, the legend, Rolk himself. I will say that the first part of the encounter where you have to put all the symbols into the things before you go up into his, what would that place even be called? It's like a big soccer arena, it looks like. Basketball, I mean, there's no hoops. He's tall enough for it to be a basketball arena. Cricket? Oh, that makes sense. Actually, that'd make a little bit more sense with the staff. Baseball, it's an arena. I mean, it's his room. It's his room. I think that part rocks, and I think the boss DPS phase also rocks. I really like this raid, and the worst part about it is when you have to ride on Rolk's fucking Volvo at the start, and it takes forever. And I would rather be riding on something else in that raid. Moving on, we have the second reprised raid in Destiny 2. We have Crown of Sorrow. Now, Crown of Sorrow is an interesting one. The first encounter, it sucked when it was first in the game, and then they revamped it when they brought it back, and it's not too bad now. It's not too bad. I certainly do not mind it, but it still is not the best encounter of all time. And the loot pool from it as well, only one weapon and all of the armor? What kind of sick joke is this? I'm sorry, by the way, my voice, I don't know what has happened. It is gone. Crown of Sorrow, yeah, first encounter is still, not the most spectacular, but not terrible as it previously was. The loot pool for it is terrible, though. Second encounter, it's fine. Third encounter, I don't know. I think the only encounter that is kind of more standout in this is Gul'ran. Final encounter. Gul'ran's Deception isn't terrible, and it's probably the second best encounter in this raid, but it's not, it's once again not like super standout. I think C tier. I think it's better than Garden of Salvation and Vault of Glass, but I wouldn't put it in Michael 2. I think Michael 3 is the best place to put it. Although the weapons really did get like a pretty big, comeback. They weren't like spectacular to start with, and the fact that they brought back Final Round from D1 specifically for the shotgun, and they haven't even put it on anything else too. Imagine Acreus with Final Round. And the exotic too, since Turbo was already in the game. They made a new exotic, and it's cool. It's cool. Moving on, we have the most disappointing raid on the entire list. Root of Nightmares. Now I know what a lot of you are going to say. Root of Nightmares is good because it's easy, and easy is good for people who don't do raids or are just coming into the raids or noobs. This is the final God of Pain. We were one expansion away. One raid away from fighting the Witness. The expansion was called Lightfall. We're fighting fucking Nezarec, the final God of Pain that we've fucking heard about since Vanilla D2. 7 years. It is not the time for a noob-friendly raid. Vault of Glass is there. If you want a noob-friendly raid, play Vault of Glass. Raids should not be noob-friendly. I'm just saying. They're the end game. You shouldn't go into a game and immediately play the end game. Root of Nightmares is a disappointment, and the loot isn't even like it. The loot's not even great, except for the exotic and the linear and the slug. I do not like Root of Nightmares. It's boring too. You can fucking solo flawless it without any exploits. Like with Vault of Glass, you can solo flawless it, but you need to use an exploit for that. Even original Crota, if I remember right, you needed to do like an exploit to go across the bridge. It is a disappointment, and it should not. The encounters aren't even good. Like, they're boring. Like, the only good one is third encounter. The only thing keeping it out of Michael 5 is that Nezarec like Rolk, he's pretty hot. Enough said about Rude Nightmares. My voice is going out, and I really, it is a complete disappointment. Yeah. We are on to the final raid, the latest raid, which is Crota's End, the reprised version. And, you know, this is going to be a little bit of an unpopular opinion. I'm not a big fan of the raid. Like, don't get me, like, I like all the raids in D2. Like, even Rude Nightmares, I know I just talked all that shit about it, but I think that the best way I can describe Crota's End is if elevator music was a raid. It's a lot of waiting, and I'm just not a big fan of that, personally. Like, I like how it's more difficult than before. I like that you do increased damage against Crota with swords. I think that that's very cool. I think that the loot from the dungeon, I mean, that was not planned. I think that the loot from the raid is pretty good. Although I'm mad that instead of the sniper and the rocket, they decided to put the auto rifle. Yeah, high impact auto rifle, baby! And the machine gun. I mean, the machine gun's good, but it's a machine gun still. Yeah, not a big fan of the chalice mechanic, and not a big fan that there was no real diversification of the encounters. It just kind of felt like they were like, okay, what do we do for Crota? Just put the chalice in every encounter and make it so that that's like the main mechanic, instead of making everybody not regen health and only regen health when you have the chalice. You know what I mean? I'm just not a big fan of that. But you know, for what it's worth, I still think that it is better than all of the raids in Michael 3, but I don't think it's on the same tier as Deepstone Crypt, so I'll put it at a very high Michael 3. And it appears just like that. We're out of raids. So that was fun. My voice is almost out. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to subscribe. We're almost at 11k. Actually, probably will be at 11k. I might even be at 11k right now, actually. I just checked, and I am 1 subscriber away from 11,000 subscribers. So I will probably have hit 11k by the time this video is out. So I would like to thank you all very, very much for 11,000 subscribers. Really does mean the world to me. And, you know, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing without y'all and your support. So thank you very much. And 15k, baby! And I changed my name to Markiplier. In-game name. Actually, you know what? No, not 15k. I have a better plan. If we can pass Boneless Revenge by the final shape by 2024, not the final shape, 2024. The final shape seems like too easy of a goal. You gotta work for it. You gotta work for it. I will change my in-game name to Markiplier. We got this? We got this. Trust. Hashtag comeback Boneless Revenge. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, go fuck yourself.